It's a work of art. You know, he got the boxing skills and the ability to, you know, do whatever he wanted in the ring. You know, and it's going to be with the skills that he possesses and the smarts that he has. You know, and given the opportunity, I think he can pose a great threat to everybody in the division. You know, and be the last man standing given the opportunity.
I think that's a good fight for both of them in right now in their careers.
You know, he's just been working on, you know, different stuff like hand placement, you know, same old stuff, using the jab, using my combinations, stepping off. So the chemistry's been great. I like him a lot. And it shows why, you know, he's a great trainer last year.
Terence Crawford showing up to support Errol Spence might be the last thing many boxing fans expected, but that's exactly what makes this story so fascinating.
I'm definitely a fan of boxing. You know, I'm gonna be in Australia. I'm gonna be supporting Spence, rooting him on. You know, I just like to support, you know, fighters in his own right. I done been in Boots' locker room supporting him. You know, so yeah, it's just crazy how the tables turn. You know, when people get to a certain plateau and they forget about things like that.
You know, I think that's a great fight for both of them because it's winnable for both of them. Me and my boy Tszyu had a little wager on if him and Spence fought each other, who will win. And I had to back Spence because that's what I believe in. But, you know, I'm not the one fighting, so at the end of the day, I'm not the one that controls who win or lose.
Yeah, it's a lot of good trainers, but you know, I went with the best. It was the best trainer that fits me.
Mm-hmm. The Houston humidity is different from Dallas, right?
Yeah. It's a big difference. That's the main thing.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah, man. It's a big difference.
3 years, the last time everybody's seen you in the ring, you know, there's, I guess, you even said yourself, like, you didn't have to come back to boxing, but it's just something that you wanted to do. How have you prepared yourself mentally, you know, for this fight versus Tszyu?
I mean, just training to my best abilities, training hard, focusing, listening to my coach, and just getting back down to the basics and what got me here.
After everything those two have been through, Crawford didn't hide behind vague answers or political responses. He made it crystal clear. He's backing Spence. Bud even revealed he'll be in Australia supporting him and didn't hesitate to say he already told Tim Tszyu to his face that he's picking Errol to win. Think about how unusual that is in boxing. This isn't social media loyalty or empty hype. This is one of the greatest fighters of this generation openly standing behind the man he once defeated on the biggest stage. That immediately tells me Crawford sees something in Spence that a lot of fans might be overlooking.
You've been in camp with him. How's the camp been so far?
Well, everybody's right who say he's not going to be the same. He's going to be better. So much better than he ever was. You know, his body is well rested. He feels really good. You know, everything is going great. And as you saw today, you know, his punches are fluid. You know, he's strong. And he's throwing the punches to where I think he should throw them. And, you know, defense is looking good. So everything is going great. And, hey, everybody that's thinking he don't have anything left, just wait.
Maybe it's the work being done behind closed doors. Maybe it's the hunger that's returned after nearly 3 years away. Or maybe it's simply respect for a fighter willing to jump straight into a dangerous opponent instead of taking the easy comeback route. Either way, Bud isn't acting like this is some farewell tour. He's treating Spence like a real threat. At the same time, don't think Tim Tszyu is going to be intimidated by any of this. If anything, hearing Crawford publicly back his opponent only adds more fuel to the fire. That's what makes this fight even more compelling.
Errol Spence's return against Tim Tszyu. Just wanted your thoughts on the return of Errol.
I think Errol gonna do an amazing job. I'm looking forward to him getting back in the ring, and I think he's gonna be successful in his comeback. And I picked him to win.
Do you ever have a niche where every single time you're like, oh, I knew I could be here, I knew I could do this, I knew I could do that?
Oh yeah, I definitely knew, but I mean, sometimes you just have to rest your body. I didn't really rest my body after all the, little injuries or accidents that I had. I didn't rest my body, so it was the first time I got to rest my body for about 3 years. So it was good. I enjoyed it a lot.
One former champion believes the old Errol Spence is still alive and ready to shock the world, while Tszyu is convinced he's about to prove that a new era has officially arrived. Sometimes confidence spreads through an entire team. And right now, it feels like Spence has one of the biggest names in boxing standing firmly in his corner. Whether that belief translates into victory is another story entirely. But one thing is certain, July 26th just got a whole lot more interesting.
Errol, you've always been, calm and respectful throughout your whole entire career. And it's very rare times that we've seen you, go a bit of, back and forth with a fighter. But Tim Tszyu, what exactly happened? It was just because you're saying on social media? What exactly did it say that it gets started?
I mean, I didn't go back and forth with him. I felt like I wasn't disrespectful to him. It's a fight. And, I think I heard something he said about he gonna do me like Fundora did Keith Thurman, and just talk about a whole bunch of crap, and then he expect me to come shake his hand. And, I just wasn't in the mood for that. It's time to fight. We're in a tough fight. He said it's going to be a war, then let it be that then.
And that's exactly why Terence Crawford publicly backing Errol Spence makes this next conversation even more fascinating, because Tim Tszyu doesn't sound like a man who's worried about endorsements from boxing royalty. If anything, Tim seems to be treating all that support as extra motivation. What caught my attention immediately wasn't the trash talk. It was how calm he sounded while basically promising to test something you can't measure on a punch tracker. Tim kept coming back to one word without actually saying it over and over: heart.
Yeah, to be honest, like there's certain moments that I'm like, it should have happened this way, I should have done this. But it all comes down to, I'm living in the present right now. I'm bringing the biggest fight to ever hit Sydney Australian shores. Bringing a name such as Errol Spence, who at the moment everyone sort of wants him, in the stacked division that we got, and I get to, I don't know, make a stamp, create a shock in the boxing world.
He wasn't obsessing over Spence's speed, power, or even the long layoff. He wants to find out if that fire is still burning when the fight gets uncomfortable, and that's a completely different challenge. I also liked how honest he was about Errol taking this fight instead of a tune-up. Tim admitted he respects that mentality, but then he flipped it around and basically said, "I'm going to make you wish you hadn't. That's cold." Then Jeff Fennick's influence kept popping up throughout the interview, and honestly, you can hear the difference. Tim talked less like a fighter carrying pressure and more like someone who's finally enjoying the process again.
No, not really. I'm preparing for the best. The biggest thing for me is to test his heart. How bad does he want it? When you've been there, done that in the sport, it's sort of like, do I need to do this? Do I need to keep on going? That's what I want to test when he starts talking to himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think his heart, he can question it? You will make him question himself in there.
Well, that's what I'm going for. Yeah. If you take the heart away from him, then he's gone.
Sometimes a relaxed fighter is more dangerous than an angry one because he's thinking clearly instead of forcing moments. Then he casually dropped that he wants to finish the job quicker than Crawford did, and that's one of those statements that instantly gets every boxing fan arguing. Is it confidence? Is it ambition? Or is it a little bit of both? I couldn't help smiling when he dismissed all the handshake drama too. In his mind, respect can wait until after the final bell, because right now it's strictly business. That's the mentality of someone completely locked in. Whether you believe Tim is about to end Spence's comeback story, or whether Crawford's faith in Errol proves justified, one thing is obvious: neither man is walking into this fight hoping to survive. They're walking in expecting to leave with the division talking about them long after the lights go out.
In your mind, I know we said about breaking Errol, but in your mind, you must feel like this doesn't see 12 rounds on your side.
For sure. That's what I'm going for.
I was reading an interview done with Sporting News Australia, I think, and you said about beating him better than Crawford did. Is that also the mentality in your mind as well?
Well, that's his last hooray that he had, you know? So I want him to come back to the memories and do it quicker than Crawford.
And that's exactly what makes Antonio Tarver's breakdown so interesting, because after Tim Tszyu spent the entire week talking like a man ready to close the chapter on Errol Spence's career, Tarver wasn't rushing to crown anybody. Instead, he started looking at all the little details that could quietly decide the fight before the opening bell even rings. I actually appreciated that approach because Tarver kept reminding us this isn't just another road trip, it's Australia, it's Tim's backyard, and that's a completely different atmosphere. He even reflected on his own experience fighting there, which gave his opinion a little extra weight instead of sounding like another prediction tossed into the internet. Then Tarver brought up something I think a lot of fans keep brushing past. We all want to believe Spence is back at his absolute best, but wanting it and knowing it are two different things. As Tarver pointed out, we've seen snippets, a few training clips, a little heavy bag work, but the real answers don't come from social media.
Errol Spence coming back after almost a 3-year hiatus, and we know the last time we saw him was in the ring against pound for pound undisputed Bud Terence Crawford. So that's all we have to really go on, bro, and we want to, think that Errol Spence is at his complete best, that he's had a tremendous training camp, but from everybody on the outside looking in, we don't really know. All we have seen is a little bit of heavy bag work he's done. Haven't seen no real sparring or anything out there.
They come when somebody across the ring starts firing back. That's the part nobody can simulate. I also found it interesting that he didn't pretend Tim Tszyu was invincible either. Yes, Tim has the crowd, the momentum, and the comfort of fighting close to home, but Tarver also reminded everyone that Tim has been through some demanding fights himself, and we still don't fully know what those battles have taken out of him. That's why I keep saying this matchup is much more complicated than people want to admit. One side is asking whether Spence can still be the old Spence after such a long layoff. The other side is quietly wondering whether Tim is about to prove he's entered a completely different level of the sport. Tarver wasn't selling certainty, he was selling questions, and honestly, I like that even more. Sometimes the biggest fights aren't built on knowing the answer. They're built on realizing both fighters still have something huge left to prove, and that's exactly why July 26th feels impossible to look away from.
They giving Tim Tszyu a lot of momentum coming into this fight, a lot of momentum. Even though as of late, especially with the Fundora fights, he took a lot of punishment. And right now, people don't really know if he's not a shot fighter at this time. We don't know that. So again, everything will be, revealed on fight night.
And that's exactly why Antonio Tarver kept saying this fight is full of questions instead of guarantees. Because once you hear Errol Spence open up like this, you realize we're not just talking about ring rust or game plans anymore. We're talking about a man who had to rebuild himself long before he ever thought about rebuilding a boxing career. What hit me first was how brutally honest Spence was. He admitted that there are huge parts of that accident he simply can't remember, and that's terrifying when you stop and think about it. Then, instead of pretending he bounced back overnight, he described somebody who kept moving forward without really processing what had happened. That felt real. When Errol talked about ignoring warning signs and later realizing he had been running through every stop sign worth life put in front of him, I wasn't hearing excuses. I was hearing accountability. That's a big difference. I also found it powerful when he explained that the biggest comeback wasn't learning how to throw punches again. It was learning how to slow down, reconnect with his faith, and become fully present for his family.
And just hearing and just that, that I'm blowing it. That I'm blowing it, and if I'm going to come back to boxing, I gotta be right. I gotta be right. I gotta be right with myself, and I just gotta be 100. And if I say I'm a family man, and and I'm living for my kids, and I'm living for my family, I gotta really do that. I can't just say I'm doing something, but then in the dark doing something else. I gotta be 100% all in. And I was like, I'm not gonna come back to boxing until until I'm 100%, you know what I'm saying, all in with the things I say I want to be right with, and I want to be right with my family, and just, you know, want to be there.
You could hear the shift in his mindset. The old Spence measured everything through boxing. This version talks about showing up for his kids with the same passion he once reserved for title fights. And honestly, that says more about his growth than any highlight reel ever could. Then he admitted he stopped watching boxing for a while because it hurt too much. And that's one of those little details you can't fake. It tells you how deeply everything affected him behind the scenes. Now, does any of that guarantee victory against Tim Tszyu? Absolutely not. Boxing doesn't hand out wins because someone has an inspiring story. But what it does tell me is that the man stepping into Australia isn't chasing the past anymore. He's trying to prove something to himself first, and fighters who find that kind of peace can become very dangerous. Whether this comeback ends with another championship or simply another lesson, one thing is certain: this version of Errol Spence already sounds like he's won a fight far bigger than anything that happens inside the ropes.
There's just so many things that I was getting warning after warning after warning. You know what I'm saying? I know God ran, I don't know, I guess he didn't run out of patience with me, because he kept like, maybe this would deter him a little bit. Right. He kept putting stop signs, but I was running.
Right. Passing through the back.
Yeah, I was running the stop signs. I was running them, but eventually I feel like, you know, I got it. I for sure got it now, but, you know, I was just hard-headed, bro, just going through the stop signs, bro, and not.
At the end of the day, this fight has become about so much more than wins and losses. You've got Terence Crawford publicly backing Errol Spence, Tim Tszyu promising to end the comeback before it truly begins, Antonio Tarver reminding everyone that questions still outweigh answers, and Spence himself revealing a version of his life that most fans never got to see. That's why July 26th feels impossible to predict. Is this the night Errol proves the doubters wrong and reminds the boxing world exactly who he is? Or is Tim Tszyu about to announce that a new era has officially arrived? Drop your prediction in the comments, because I really want to hear where you stand on this one. Does Spence complete one of boxing's greatest comeback stories? Or does Tszyu make a statement that changes the entire division? Let's debate it. And yo, don't ever forget to like, share, and subscribe to Boxing Headquarters. See you in the next one.